Just a rebound. You really think that's all I am?" I couldn't help but repeat his words over and over as I stared at the faded photograph I'd kept hidden in a drawer, a snapshot of him with that smirking, cocky grin. My heart pounded with a mix of hurt and determination as I realized that the very man who dismissed me as nothing more than a rebound had unwittingly set the stage for my greatest triumph. My name is Jordan Ellis, and this is the story of how I turned his shallow dismissal into a turning point that transformed my life, my art, and ultimately, my destiny. It all started during what I thought was the height of our tangled, complicated relationship. For months, I had been with Alex, a guy whose charm was undeniable, whose flirtatious banter had made me believe that I was his one and only. I clung to every compliment, every whispered promise that I'd be more than just an emotional pit stop on his way to something better. But then came the day when everything I believed about us was cruelly shattered. Over a quiet dinner at a dimly lit restaurant, amid the gentle clink of cutlery and soft jazz playing in the background, Alex leaned forward, his eyes smirking. "Jordan," he said casually, "I just don't see you as more than a rebound. You're fun to be around, but let's be real, you're not the one I'm really in love with." The words hit me like a sucker punch. I felt as though every hope I had nurtured for a deeper connection was being tossed aside with arrogant nonchalance. I left that dinner with my head hung low, my heart bitterly heavy. I questioned every moment we'd ever shared. The nights when laughter filled the room, the hours we spent confiding in each other about our dreams and insecurities. I replayed his dismissal repeatedly, each time feeling a sting so sharp that it burned away any remnants of the future I'd once imagined with him. But as the days went by, something began to change inside me. Instead of succumbing to despair, I started to feel a spark of defiance. If he truly believed I was nothing more than a rebound, then maybe I could prove that his shallow judgment was his greatest mistake. One afternoon, while rummaging through my neglected camera bag in the back of my closet, I found my old DSLR, a companion from more hopeful times. I remembered countless days spent capturing snapshots of the city, of people laughing in parks, of moments that, like mine, were bittersweet and raw. I dusted off the lens, connected it to my computer, and began reviewing my photographs. As I scrolled through the images, I realized that hidden among the candid moments of everyday beauty were several that I had taken on that fateful night, the night when Alex delivered his crushing words. I'd been walking alone after dinner, the city lights blurred by tears, and somehow, in my anguish, I'd instinctively lifted my camera and captured the loneliness, the raw, exposed emotion of that moment. Those photos, at first, filled me with fresh pain. They were images of a broken heart, reflections of despair. Yet, as I scrutinized each shot, the rain glistening on wet sidewalks, the neon signs flickering against a dark sky, the way shadows played on empty streets, I began to see something else. I saw authenticity, I saw vulnerability, I saw art. In the play of light and darkness, I discovered that heartbreak itself could be a muse, and in that realization, my pain turned into inspiration. A plan started to take shape in my mind. I wasn't going to let Alex's derision define me. Instead, I would gather every one of those raw images, refine them, and compile them into a project that told my story, a narrative of resilience, transformation, and the undeniable power of owning your truth. I spent weeks editing the photos, each click of the shutter and every careful adjustment of the hue becoming a small act of rebellion against the man who had dismissed me so carelessly. I titled the series Rebound Reflections, a nod to the bitter irony of the term that had once tried to confine me. But it wasn't enough to simply create art for art's sake. I needed the world to see that my truth, born from his shallow words, was not just beautiful but valuable. I began reaching out to local art galleries, pitching an exhibit that would showcase my work along with a narrative of my journey. At the same time, I started a personal blog where I posted not just the photos, but also the behind-the-scenes story, the conversation, the tearful walk home, the moments of raw vulnerability that had propelled me to pick up my camera that night. It was a cathartic release, a conversation with anyone who had ever felt diminished by someone else's contempt. The blog posts went viral, spreading across social media platforms with hashtags like #ReboundReflections and #TruthInTears. People from all walks of life messaged me, sharing their own stories of being dismissed, of feeling like a rebound, and of finding strength in their vulnerability. One comment read, "Your art made me realize that being sensitive is a strength, not a weakness," while another said, "I never thought heartbreak could be transformed into something so powerful." Every message was a small validation, a reminder that while Alex had tried to confine me with his words, My truth was far too expansive to be contained. Then, the unthinkable happened. A major tabloid, notorious for its sensational headlines and scandalous scoops, reached out to me. They had seen my online presence and were intrigued by my story, a story of heartbreak transformed into art. "We'd like to feature your work and your journey in our next issue," the email said. At first, I hesitated. Working with a tabloid seemed like selling out, a move that might cheapen the rawness of my journey. But as I thought about it, I realized that this was an opportunity to amplify my voice, to let the world know that what Alex had dismissed was not insignificant. It was a catalyst for personal revolution. I agreed, and soon, my images were splashed across the pages of a widely read tabloid, each photo accompanied by a caption that recounted my transformation from heartache to empowerment. The headline screamed, "Rebound Revolution," the art that turned dismissal into triumph, and the public reaction was instantaneous. My story became a beacon for anyone who'd ever been called a rebound, anyone who'd been told that their feelings were a burden. I was invited to talk shows, podcasts, and even local news segments where I recounted how those hurtful words had sparked a creative journey that redefined who I was. In one interview on a popular morning show, the host asked, "How did you find the strength to turn such a painful moment into something so beautiful?" I paused, reflecting on all the lonely nights and tear-filled days, and then said, "I realized that every scar, every tear, is a testament to who I am. I may have been called a rebound, but that only means that I was needed, for healing, for transformation, for a fresh perspective. And if you let your pain define you, you'll never see how it can fuel your growth." The audience applauded, and I could see that my vulnerability resonated with people in a profound way. Alex's reaction to all of this was one of muted shock. I heard whispers through mutual acquaintances that he had stumbled upon the tabloid feature and that his dismissive comments had become public knowledge. I never confronted him directly, because honestly, I'd moved on. His words had once aimed to confine me, but in the end, they fueled my rebirth. I no longer felt the sting of his criticisms. Instead, I felt gratitude that someone had inadvertently pushed me to become the person I was always meant to be, a creator, a storyteller, a beacon for those who believe that vulnerability is not weakness but a source of strength. The journey wasn't without its rough patches, of course. There were nights when self-doubt crept in, when the weight of every disparaging remark threatened to dim the light I had fought so hard to nurture. I had to learn to trust my own vision, to understand that even when someone tries to diminish you, your truth remains vast and uncontainable. I attended therapy sessions, dove into books on resilience, and even joined a creative writing group where I could share my experiences and hear others' stories. Every conversation, every shared experience, became a reminder that I was not alone, that the journey from heartbreak to triumph was a universal one. As months turned into years, Rebound Reflections evolved beyond just a series of photographs. It became an emblem of self-empowerment. I continued expanding my blog, Truth in Tears, which had now gained a substantial following of people who read my work for inspiration, solace, and a reminder that life, no matter how painful, always offers a chance for rebirth. The messages I received were overwhelming, filled with gratitude and tears from readers who recognized their own struggles in my narrative. "Your story helped me see that being sensitive isn't a curse, it's what makes us human," one heartfelt comment read, while another said, "I never thought I'd find beauty in heartbreak until I followed your journey." Each message reinforced the truth that my creative expression, born from pain, was a gift to the world. Now, as I sit in my sunlit studio, surrounded by canvases and photographs, I reflect on how far I've come. The once painful label of rebound has become a badge of honor, a symbol of my journey from despair to creative triumph. Every time I pick up my camera or dust off my old journal, I'm reminded that every hurtful word can be transformed, that every dismissal can fuel a revolution of self-discovery. I know that I am not defined by someone else's shallow view. I am defined by my resilience, my authenticity, and my unwavering commitment to telling my truth. And if you ever find yourself in the midst of hurt and rejection, remember this: your pain can be your power, your scars can be your stories, and every word that tries to diminish you can be turned into a proclamation of your strength. I was once told I was just a rebound, a temporary fix in someone else's fleeting drama. But I took those words, captured the raw essence of my journey in images, and sold them to a tabloid, turning my heartbreak into art and my betrayal into a movement. Now, my story resonates with thousands, reminding everyone that the truth, no matter how painful, has the power to transform you into something unstoppable. This is my story, a journey from the cruelty of dismissive words to the triumph of self-reclamation, from being labeled a rebound to becoming a voice that inspires and uplifts. I turned every insult into art, every rejection into a stepping stone, and every hurtful comment into a declaration of independence. And as I continue to walk this path, I hope my experience shines as a beacon for all those who dare to feel deeply, to trust in their own worth, and to transform pain into something incredibly beautiful. So here's my message. Don't let anyone else's perception of your worth define you. Turn their harsh words into fuel for your own revolution. Capture your truth, one raw, unfiltered moment at a time, and let the world see that your journey, no matter how bruised or battered, is your masterpiece. Because in every heartbeat, in every tear, in every captured moment of heartbreak, there lies a strength so profound that it can redefine your entire destiny.